Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me today. My name's Nick. I'm Shellie Anderson's husband, and this is Restore Yourself, Restore Your Marriage, the male response. Every week I respond to Shellie's podcast called Restore Yourself, Restore Your Marriage to give you a little bit of insight from the male perspective. I hope that I can join Shellie in giving you some good tips and tools and experiences that will help you and your relationship with your spouse. I hope you enjoy.
Hey everybody. So Shellie's podcast on Monday was called something, I'm pretty sure it's this: My husband made me have a panic attack. And so I'm going to respond to that podcast today and say a few things just from a male perspective. Again, every Friday, keep it fresh. It's super important that you keep it fresh. One of the things I found in all of our coaching and all of the leadership development that I do and I have done in the past, one of the things that people don't focus on is they don't focus on the skill of their relationships. They'll go to school, they'll learn how to do their profession, they'll do everything that they can to stay up to speed when it comes to the latest news or what's going on in the gossip world or whatever. But how many of us actually spend the time and really spend the time, not just listening to a podcast? And that's a great first step, don't get me wrong. If you're listening to this, great job. You're doing something to learn about relationships and intimacy in particular. But people do not spend the kind of time requisite for the importance of how meaningful their relationships are and can be. And so I just am so grateful that you're here with me talking, listening to me talk about this, because I think it's important to hear from other people about their own experiences and also to learn some new skills that you'll be able to skill up and know what to do to prevent problems in your relationship and to improve intimacy. And when I say intimacy, men, I know that we always think about sex first, physical, sexual intimacy. Again, that's only one of 24 different kinds of intimacies. And as you learn and as you grow and become more connected with your wife, that actually will become less and less important. Even though it might become more frequent, your connection to your wife will become the most important thing. And just being connected is the number one priority. So in response to my wife's podcast that I made her have a panic attack, first of all, let's just be real. There are times when we get so frustrated with our spouses. Okay. She gets frustrated with me for saying things that she's not ready to hear, or maybe being a little bit too direct and bold. And she does the same thing to me. Sometimes I know the look on her face. She comes up and she looks at me a certain way and, really tries to, say it in a way that's not going to frustrate me. But she'll say something to me that I'm doing wrong or that I'm not doing. And I know it's coming and I just clench up and I feel the stress come on and I feel worried about what she's going to say. And it is true. That is going to continue to happen at times. There have been so many times when I've thought, my wife is a cold-hearted bee, right? And I'm sure that wives, you thought your husband is an a-hole or whatever it is, right? Like, not everyone's going to use that kind of language, but it's the spirit in which it's shared or thought. Okay, we need to take a step back and think about that. That is super important. So when she talks about this moment when I made her have a panic attack, and then she goes on to talk about how it's up to her to respond in the way that she knows is right, to not let me take her down that path and to do her own thought work. I've been there too. I understand this, and I've done this to her many times over the years. I am guilty, and I will continue to do these things where I say something that really bugs her. And I know it's not going to get me anywhere with her, but I still say it because it needs to be said, and I have pride and I have an ego, just like all of us do. But let me just tell you this. I know that that's going to happen because she has her agency and she has her ability to respond to whatever I'm going to say, no matter what it is. And even if I don't think it's going to cause her to have this kind of stress or this panic, I know what I need to do when it does happen. And this is part of the skilling up thing that I was talking about earlier. If you're not going through the process of learning about coaching your own thoughts, empowering your own thoughts, and using your agency to choose different thoughts, then you're not going to be able to let others do that either. Right? So the fact that I have agency, if I don't utilize that agency in a way that is helpful, then I'm going to do everything I can, even if I don't know I'm doing it, to take other people's agency away. And the reason for that is I have to justify my own actions. Self-justification to live in a dream world or a world that isn't helpful and isn't real when it comes to seeing other people as people. That is one of the most damaging things that we can do. And so my response to Shellie was, at first, what is your problem? Why are you being so weird about this? I asked her to do something that she wasn't ready for in that moment because she was already in the middle of something really stressful. And my first inclination was to fix it. I wanted to fix it with my wife, and that's what men do. We want to fix things. We want to talk about how to fix the way that they're feeling, our wives, or anyone else, usually, if they're mad. And, some of us ignore it and don't care. And if you're in that camp, and if you don't care at all, that's probably worse. But the best way to handle this is to let her go through her feelings. Let her feel her feelings. Let her see in her own time and in her own way that the way she's responding isn't helpful to her. Let her see that. And there may be a time soon in the future where you'll start to talk. It may be that same day. It may be the next day. It may not be for another week. But I promise you that if you'll do what you can in that moment to forget about the thing that you said and the way she responded, and just focus on ways to help. Focus on ways to take up the slack in that moment and to help her. Look at opportunities that you can fulfill with the children or with chores around the house or with a project that you've been putting off, right? I mean, it's this quote I love. When a man says he's going to fix it, he's going to fix it. You don't have to remind him every 3 months. Okay? Okay, that was a little joke. But anyway, let her feel her feelings. She will come to you. She'll come back to you. And it'll be much better if you just let her feel her feelings. If she needs you to fix something right away or clarify something about what you said, great. Do it. Clarify it. But don't go into fix it mode. I promise you. Give it time. And while you're giving it time, look for other ways to help. Follow your intuition. Follow your senses. Okay. In this moment, my wife is not feeling at peace. And she may not even be mad at you personally. I don't think Shellie was mad at me personally. She was just frustrated with the situation. But I started to make it about myself. I started to think, why is she so mad at me? That really wasn't even the case. And had I responded that way, it would have just made it worse. But knowing that it might not have been about me, it might have been about something that she's thinking about, and I just triggered something, I let her go through her process. And by the end of the day, things were great. We were actually even more connected. We were more connected emotionally. Okay. So that's my response to my wife's podcast. I'm so grateful that she knows how to deal with those things. She knows how to go through the thought work. So if you are an individual that gets frustrated by certain things that your spouse says, there is a very logical way to go through that so that you can feel emotions about it in a clear way that actually helps you feel better. If you're not going through her courses, there's the master class is the emotional intimacy effect, intimacy beyond sex. That course is unbelievable. It's 6 modules. It'll take you some time to get through it, but you will learn skills that will change your life. It'll change the way that you respond to your husband or to your wife. It'll give you the opportunity to think differently about how you respond to your children. You'll think differently about how you respond to your neighbor. And ultimately, it'll help you to be closer to those people, especially to your spouse, And if you're a woman who doesn't enjoy physical intimacy, I promise you'll be able to enjoy emotional intimacy much better. And for your husband who wants more physical intimacy, guess what? When you do have physical intimacy, you'll both enjoy it more, but he will start to learn that emotional intimacy is important to him. Wouldn't it be amazing? And I say this out of experience, and this is not something that I'm perfect at. Wouldn't it be amazing if your husband started to think about intimacy the same way that you do? Think about that for a second. Because most of you probably see him as just some like pervy man who just wants to have sex all the time, or your husband's just given up on it because it's too much work. And if he's given up on sex, it might have been pretty easy for him to give up on the emotional side too. And I know there's a lot of you out there that just are not connected and you're going through the motions because it's good enough. Marriage is not meant to be good enough. Marriage is meant to get better and better and better. I promise you there are ways to do this, and it's not difficult. It's just learning some skills. If you're already married and you both want to go through something together to learn more about how to be more connected, check out Marriage Enhancement. It's another course on Shellie's website, shellie.andersoncoaching.com. That's discounted too. The two courses I mentioned are both under $100 for a ton of information. You'll go spend $100 on a pair of shoes. You'll go spend $100 on dinner. And the reason why they're $100 is because they take a long time to produce, and there's a lot of information there. And look for, if you are not signed up for our weekly email, look for those, sign up for them, and I promise you will have an opportunity to get a discounted course at some point if that's what you want. But don't wait. Why wait? The other thing is that Shellie has a membership, $39 a month. You can have access to almost all of the courses and her monthly topic that she goes through in detail and gives you worksheets, et cetera, et cetera. I'm the reason I'm selling her courses isn't just because she needs to make money. She actually doesn't need to make money. Okay. We give a ton of stuff away for free. We are desperate for you to take advantage of these courses so that you can be happier, so that you can find more peace, so that you know how to think about your own thoughts. The reason why we do this free podcast every single week is because we believe in all of this and it makes us happy. And we're just like you. We have our problems. Obviously, we're pretty vulnerable with them. We have challenges all the time, but it is amazing what these skills can do for you so that you can progress and feel like you're closer and closer and closer. And, the climb to the top of a mountain is rocky, and you're going to fall and skin your knee. You might even fall pretty far and break an arm. That's okay. You're going to get to the top. And this mountain that we're talking about is huge. It's endless. But the higher you get, the more beautiful the view is. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you continue to listen to her podcast and then my response to it. And get on her website, shellie.andersoncoaching.com, and look at all the programs that are there. Those programs are designed to give you more in-depth knowledge that goes far deeper than what we talk about on the podcast. And I promise you, if you stick to those, and if you take the time that you would put into listening to the news or the gossip, that you talk about, not all of you, but everyone's involved in some gossip, or the time that you take to study the scriptures. Okay. Scriptures come first, but I'm going to promise you right now, every single thing that she talks about, that we talk about, none of it will contradict anything that you learn in the scriptures. But if you think that just reading the scriptures is going to fix all your problems, that's not true, because the whole reason you have agency and the whole reason you're supposed to learn and go through experience is to learn. The scriptures aren't going to tell you what you're learning. The scriptures aren't going to give you the models that you need to make sure that that learning is actually really getting traction. The scriptures aren't a marriage book. Yeah, they're going to give you the all the knowledge that you need about Jesus Christ or about whatever spiritual belief that you have so that you can live a better life. It's going to give you the ordinances and the covenants and where to look for salvation. But when it comes to the day-to-day stuff that can help you to overcome little challenges and communication skills and intimacy skills and relationship skills, it's not going to get into all the details because everyone's different. But what we're trying to do is give you the supplemental tools so that you can customize those things for you. We love you. We're so grateful for all of those that listen and have benefited from these podcasts, but also our courses. God bless you. See you next week.